Hi, in this video clip today I want to talk about two main types of cells, chemical cells and fuel air cells, and in the case of a fuel cell, in their particular, hydrogen cells. How is electricity generated or produced in the case of a chemical cell? You get two dissimilar metals forming electrodes. They're placed inside an electrolyte, and between them the chemical reaction occurs between the anode and the cathode and the electrodes. In simple terms, oxidation and reduction occurs, but I'll get back more to that later. And in the case of, say, an example of a fuel cell, a hydrogen cell, you've simply got your reaction, let's call it chamber. You pump in oxygen, you pump in hydrogen, and you've got a fuel. And what happens is the external electricity produced, it then produces another secondary electrolytic reaction to produce a potential difference. For example, in a hydrogen cell, the fuel is hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen is obtained from the air, and simply what happens then is this fuel is then electrochemically oxidized, and during that process the electrical energy is produced. Let's look at the first type of cell. I've simply got a chamber that contains an electrolyte, contains an electrolyte, and if, for example, I've got an electrode 1, the electrode 2, and this one is made out of zinc, and that one's made of copper, and I've linked them up. What happens is a current is developed, a voltage is developed. So in a chemical cell, the voltage produced will depend on the metals used in the electrodes and the nature of the electrolyte. Now, in an earlier video clip I spoke about the electrochemical series, and if you can remember it, like I can just about remember it, you've got things like magnesium, metals, magnesium, zinc, copper, and one down the bottom, silver. The voltage produced depends on the electropositivity, the position of the metal found in the electrochemical series. Magnesium is high up, silver is low. So the voltage produced, the potential difference, depends on the difference in the position in the electrochemical series, such as the highest voltage would be produced if I had electrodes made of magnesium and silver, and a lowish potential difference would be between having something like copper and zinc. So the further apart they are in the electrochemical series, the higher the voltage produced. Now, in the case of these ordinary chemical cells, what is the difference between a normal cell and a rechargeable cell? The answer is these will both eventually fail because of the electrolytic reactions taking place. But in, for example, your mobile phone, you're not gonna have them not being chargeable, because this is what the difference is between a rechargeable battery and a non-rechargeable battery is to do with the chemicals found inside them. In the case of a rechargeable battery, you simply connect it to a charger, and what happens is it will reverse the electrolytic reaction that's gone on inside the battery. Now, if I said, what do these rechargeable batteries, you go into a supermarket and you get a basket and it says place your old batteries in here. Well, they contain nasty elements, poisonous elements, non-biodegradable elements, poisonous ones such as lead, mercury, nickel, cadmium. So that is the difference. Rechargeables, you supply them, you plug them into a power source and it recharges them. It reverses the charges that have been going on originally inside that cell. I want to look at a quick diagram of what a fuel cell, a hydrogen cell, it looks like. Here's the reaction vessel, and I've simply got hydrogen going in, and I've got oxygen going in, so it's high, and you've got here porous membranes, and these porous membranes, they constitute the anode and the cathode. In practice, what they are is, it's quite a complex technology. One example of the electrodes are maybe carbon, graphite impregnated with a platinum catalyst, or even a rarer type of catalyst. And let's add, there's the fuel, there's the anode and the cathode, and inside this, I'm just gonna, that is the electrolyte, and this is what happens succinctly. You got the fuel there, which is hydrogen and oxygen. That is then oxidized. That fuel is oxidized, and when that's oxidized, when that electrolytic reaction occurs, you've then got a potential difference formed across those two electrodes. So I'll say it again, a hydrogen cell, a fuel air cell, you've got a supply of fuel, which is hydrogen and oxygen, and that is then oxidized. Let's look at some of the good features of alkaline, hello, can't spell, alkaline cells. Then we've got rechargeable cells, hello, I can't, rechargeable cells. And we've got hydrogen cells or fuel cells. Which do you think the cheapest are to produce? These are cheap, these are more expensive because they contain more expensive chemicals, so they are more expensive, and these are extremely expensive because of the technology used. When you think those fuel cells, hydrogen cells, are used in spacecraft, whereas nowadays you've got buses and transport moving onto thinking green, onto these hydrogen cells, fuel cells. Trouble is with these rechargeable cells, they're not disposable. Like I said, they contain expensive things and you cannot just dispose them. Maybe they're used in landfill sites, etc. Fuel cells, they're generally quite small, they're expensive, and they require constant fuel. But they got no moving parts, so they're reliable, maintenance free, etc. And that's about it. Speak to you soon now.